Board of Trustees regular meeting is now called to order at 4:32 p.m. We welcome members of the public. Instructions on making public comment are posted in item 1 on the agenda. We will ask at each action item if there is public comment. Armando, can you please do a roll call?
Student Trustee Love. Present. Trustee Dodd. Trustee Kishnev. Here. Trustee DeLuna. Trustee Rios. Here. Trustee Iverson. Here. And Trustee Baker.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. And I would like to invite our new student trustee to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation.
As we gather today, it is important to acknowledge that Napa Valley College and the surrounding Napa Valley sit on the unceded traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homelands of the Miwok, Patwin, who are comprised of 3 federally recognized tribes: the Cachio-Dahen Band of Winton Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dahe Band of Winton Indians, and the Yocha-Dahe Winton Nation, and Wapo, including the Mishawa Wapo, also known as the Orosatis peoples. As part of the Napa Valley College's mission of transforming lives through excellent education and professional opportunities that are student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented, and in accordance with the college's values of accountability, integrity, inclusion, respect, social justice, and sustainability, we make this acknowledgement. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been and continues to be perpetrated against Indigenous people, the land, and water. May we hold steady in our commitment to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice with the Miwok, Patwin, and Wapo peoples. Next is adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda? So we are adopted through consensus. And now we have constituent groups. Do we have any?
Madam Chair, we do not have any constituent group reports. Let me take a quick look on Zoom, and I don't believe they are there. So no reports this month.
All right, then we will move on to public comment on closed session items. At this time, the board will devote a total of up to 15 minutes to hear comments regarding closed session agenda items. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The 3 items that we will be discussing are conference with real property negotiators and public 2 items of public employment. Do we have any public comment on any of those items?
Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment on closed session items.
All right, then we will adjourn to closed session to discuss those items, and we should return at 5:30. So the board is now returning to open session. You tell me. Okay. It's 5:30 p.m. There was no reportable action from closed session. We're now entering into public comment. This public comment opportunity is governed by the California Brown Act. The board is not able to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to review comments to the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing on as an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. Each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment, Armando?
Madam Chair, there is no general public comment today.
Okay, then we'll close public comment and move on to 8.1, the consent calendar. Do we have a motion for the consent calendar?
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Iverson with a second from Trustee Rios. All in favor?
Madam Chair, before the action, we do have public comment, a public comment opportunity and some requested public comment for consent items.
Oh, do we need to pull an item off in order to do that?
The The opportunity is to speak on anything on the consent calendar before the general action is taken. Following public comment, if there is a desire to individually consider any items, that is an option the board can take.
Okay, so then we have public comment.
Yes, we have 3 public comment requests for a consent item. And up first, we have Jessica Jessup speaking on the MBTA tennis courts. Jessica, if you can just come up to the podium.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. My name is Jessica Jessup, and I'm currently the Napa Valley College Tennis Club Vice President. Starting next semester, I'll be taking over as the president of the tennis club. The tennis club has been a defining part of my experience here at this school, making this issue incredibly important to me. Of course, elevating our courts would add value and be more welcoming to tennis communities, and I would love to see these courts brought up to their best. However, this proposed deal with the MBTA does not support that for multiple reasons. Flexibility is essential for a community college, where students come and go quickly. Student-led clubs and organizations need to coordinate events smoothly without having to jump through hoops set by outside organizations. Semesters at NVC only last 16 weeks, so asking students to plan nearly an entire semester in advance is unrealistic and unsustainable for the tennis club. There's also concern that requiring students to use another organization's reservation system to access campus courts would discourage student participation and limit the community building opportunities that these courts are supposed to create. We can see a threat posed by MBTA and the patterns of the organization's current operations behind Vintage High School. What began as a community-focused partnership has evolved into restricted, member-only access with locked courts, security barriers, and growing limitations for the public. I worry that the MBTA's ownership of our college's courts is highly likely to prioritize paying members over open community access for years to come. The 8 MVC courts currently available are often filled on the weekends as is, so leaving just 2 courts for public use will not be nearly enough to handle the size of Napa's tennis community. It will inevitably cause long wait times for court access, which will ultimately drive away student participation. With most other courts in town privatized, we enjoy our courts here to be free and accessible. If playing on most of these courts requires payment, I, along with numerous others, will stop seeing them as welcoming, quickly removing the community aspect out of community college. This deal does not stand to help students. It will harm them. A Napa Valley College staple of free, welcoming public courts is a community asset that we will lose with the acceptance of this deal. As the MOU states, MBTA plans to work with the USTA to gain funding for this project. So why can't we do the same? Help keep our courts in our hands by preventing this deal, and we will seek to fundraise for the resurfacing ourselves. Thank you for listening and for your consideration.
Okay, and Madam Chair, we have 2 more public comment requests for consent. Up next is Sierra Tenbrook, also speaking on the tennis courts.
Hello, Board of Trustees. I'm Sierra Tenbrook, and I'm the president of the tennis club. Like Jessica, our club has been a huge part of my connection here at Napa Valley College. So even though I'm transferring out this year, the possible privatization of our courts is a great loss to me. Spending 2 of my college years at this school, I hope I can forever maintain a connection to my time here. Though if the program that I was most involved in changes drastically, where will that leave me? When I come back from my breaks, I would love to be able to come back to my home courts. But if I have to schedule with another organization or play around pickleball, what will become of my ability to play now that I'm only a member of the community? The community of Napa is already lacking in accessible, welcoming tennis courts, making us less encouraged to play our favorite sport. I live just under a mile away from Las Flores Park, which up until a few years ago would be the place that I could go to easily play tennis. However, when they converted 1 court into 4 pickleball courts, not only did it disturb everyone nearby with their loud, echoey popping sounds, but it took away from tennis players' experiences. On my nightly neighborhood walks, I can't help but notice the atmosphere around the new courts. Just last night, I walked by to witness loud expressions during points, Again, the popping sounds and even camping chairs set up on the tennis courts for pickleball players. The tennis court is now set aside because their space is overtaken by pickleball. While I see the appeal of the game and the community it definitely fosters, I can't help but be frustrated by the disturbance to the quiet, focused game of tennis. Also, considering its location on campus, I foresee the addition of pickleball courts to not only distract tennis players, but students and student residents, as it is in close proximity to both. I understand that pickleball is the new exciting thing at the moment, which is why I think it's great that the city of Napa just put up 4 brand new pickleball courts just down the street by the movie theaters. The utilization of these courts seems ideal for Napa Valley College students, as they are close to campus, but not so close that they detract from the focused culture that we appreciate here in Napa. As one of the affected groups by the possible conversion of the courts, the tennis club would like to propose an alternative and equally easy option to the deal with NVTA. As we understand, $300,000 is needed to resurface our courts. So what if we could find that money ourselves instead? To keep our courts in the hands of our school and the community it serves the most, the tennis club is willing to fundraise the money with many ideas on how to move forward. To start, we plan on reaching out to passionate individuals to participate in an Adopt a Court program where each donor can contribute $25,000. With 8 courts adopted at $25,000 each, we can reach $200,000 of the $300,000, and at which point we could go public with our fundraiser and hold events such as auctions, dine and donates, charity tennis tournaments, among many other ideas we are willing to initiate. We think that our tennis-loving community here in Napa will be more than willing to see our public courts restored to being a community asset. That's why I ask of you, please reconsider your options and work with the organization who currently finds the most value in our Napa Valley College courts. Thank you for listening and your consideration.
And Madam Chair, our last speaker for this section is Rebecca Thompson, also speaking on the tennis courts.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and let you know my feelings about this specific MOU that has come across. And I have been teaching here and out on the tennis courts among some other classes I've also taught since 1987. So I've been through a lot of up and down with the tennis court. Right now, the tennis club is building and the team is building. And you just heard from 2 of my best students that came and spoke to you and said how they feel as students here and what they think about what is happening and how much the club wants to be a part of putting this together so that the college can own and operate these courts as opposed to an outside entity. Pickleball is not something that goes well with tennis. And my understanding from the U.S. Tennis Association is they will not put in courts that are going to be for pickleball. So if the MOU, the money that they've raised comes from them, it's not to put in pickleball courts. Initially, they said 1 court, now they're saying 2. So I have a feeling this is growing and we need all 8 courts to teach the sport of tennis to the students. I need those 8 courts for a lot of different things, classes, for club, for tournaments that we run. And it would be a great loss to us to have pickleball courts there at all. The USTA has told me that they will support us, Napa Valley College, to resurface, redo, and actually do whatever work is necessary on those tennis courts. They will give us the same amount of money that they would be giving to the organization that has proposed this to you. So we can get those same donated funds from the U.S. Tennis Association quite easily. I've done a lot for that organization. They're willing to turn around and do a lot for us. So you heard how much the students care about the courts and how much they are willing to put in the time and raise the money. And I think it can be done. I believe in these students. I believe that they can do this, and I will be there. I've been their advisor for years. I will be there to help them with this. We are just making a comeback since COVID, and we have a really good group of kids working out there for the courts. And I would like to see you give us that opportunity to be able to take care of this ourselves and do this in-house as opposed to having another organization that is going to control the tennis courts, make it very difficult for me to teach. Especially one of the things I saw that was they want 4 courts at all times. That leaves me with 2 courts and 30 students. I don't know how much you know about tennis, but that's not a very good, it's not a very, very good proposal from my perspective. So I thank you very much for listening to us, and I hope that we have helped you to reconsider, to think maybe more in a different way about what the plan is for these courts. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that was our final speaker on consent items.
Madam Chair, do you need a request?
No, I heard it. So we do have a request from trustee Kushnev to pull that item for additional discussion. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar.
Move for approval of the consent with the removal of 8.13.
Second.
Okay, a motion from trustee Iverson with a second from trustee Rose. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so do you need to do some magic over there or are we ready?
Yeah, give me one quick second for the magic. Okay, I am all good on my end. So we've approved consent and we can take item 8.13 individually as its own action item.
Thank you. Taking up that item now, I know I have a question and I imagine there are a couple of others. And then I'd also like to get some comments from staff regarding the comments that we just received. But my initial question is there any kind of caveat that we can work into this agreement that would give precedent to students' use of the space, or is that already baked in?
President Baker, I would respond by saying this is an MOU that precedes the final and definitive agreement about the use of the courts, access to the courts, scheduling of the courts, et cetera. The MOU in this case is an indication that the college is interested in partnering with Napa Valley Tennis Association that allows them to raise money to do the improvements. It does not preclude any of the conditions that have been referenced today.
Other questions?
I have a follow-up to that, Jim. But does this MOU then lock us into some kind of agreement with them once they've started their fundraising?
It commits us to some agreement with the terms and conditions to be defined by the parties after they reach that milestone of raising enough funds.
Piggybacking on that, that wouldn't preclude our tennis club to work on raising funds, would it? If they wanted to take that on?
It does not preclude anyone from contributing to an effort to improve those courts. I would offer that's been an ongoing concern. Those courts maintenance has been an ongoing concern for several years, and they are becoming more and more less useful, let's say, because the district hasn't had the money to maintain those and other sources have not come forward to maintain those. This would appear to be not only the ability to do the initial improvements, but to maintain the courts over time.
Specific questions?
Not so much a question. We heard the presentation from the Napa Valley Tennis Association, and I felt all the concerns that the speakers mentioned. And I felt like they were going to feel entitled to a certain level of precedence that alarmed me, and I'm not going to vote for this. I'm really grateful to the speakers for pulling this because I've been waiting for this to come up and I totally missed it on the consent calendar. I am not in favor of this.
it does leave open the opportunity for the Napa Club to work through and try and raise funds. And it also allows us to look at the terms and define those down the road. So
What's the timeline on, or what triggers the timeline for creating that detailed agreement?
The MOU is good for 1 year. Once they have secured funds in the amount of $300,000 and they're verified, then we would begin to develop the definitive agreement.
I would be interested in seeing, again, sometimes this happens where we receive information. I mean, we didn't have this information last month because I don't think anybody appeared other than the NVTA. What I'm concerned about, and I expressed this last month, was that the access from the students and how that would be handled and whether they would continue to have the same access. And there was an answer to that, but it wasn't really clear or satisfactory. I would like to see the comparison of what the schedule is for the program and the classes that go on versus what the NVTA is proposing.
I will ask them for that. We've been cleared from the very outset that access was paramount to any agreement, both by the public for instruction and for our student life activities. So the fact, because these students came to the facilities committee, we agreed that we wouldn't put any specific terms in the MOU that would limit that kind of would limit access, and that we would negotiate that through the definitive agreement. Trustee Rios, we can request of them kind of a model schedule, if you will, and to see how that will work. But and again, the final negotiation would be part of a definitive agreement as yet to be developed.
Right, but I think we would need to see that information in the schedule and how the program and the classes work before getting to that point.
And I have a question about, like, again, just logistically, if we were to approve this and they go ahead and they start raising money and then they come back to us in 10 months or whatever, and they say, we've got the money, what's our obligation at that point? Do we still have the ability to say, you know what, this isn't going to work for us? Or are we locked in with this MOU to some sort of future agreement?
Yes, President Baker, the MOU is a good faith agreement that if they raise the money, we'll negotiate a definitive agreement.
But if we're not able to come to agreeable terms at that point, then what happens?
Then we won't reach a definitive agreement. Yeah.
So we won't be liable for breach of contract or anything like that.
You know, I would leave that to the attorneys, but an MOU is essentially, in this case, is essentially says we agree to enter into negotiations if you raise the money. So can we back out of it if the terms don't meet our specific needs? Then I think we have some room to negotiate and to consider our options at that point.
So I'm not feeling a lot of love for this idea at this stage. Right now, I'm not getting any motions to move it. But I don't want to kill it either. I'm just wondering if could we get some additional information and table this and bring it back next month with that additional communication with the association?
I understand. It sounds like we need some a draft schedule of how we can accommodate institutional and student needs with their program. Is that what we would like to consider?
And I would just tell them simply that, you know, this is in their best interest as well, because, you know, they don't want to go out and raise money if they're going to come back with something that we're not going to be able to agree to.
Understood. We've been clear with them, by the way, on that point, but I acknowledge the need for additional information.
I could support the MOU, but my priority, and I would go on record on saying that if it didn't give priority to our current students, that would be my issue and I would vote against it. I also would like to see it kind of feel you guys to go out and see if you could raise the money. But I'm also open to moving forward so that we have progress on the tennis courts. Nonetheless, that
Are you saying that you would?
I would move to approve the MOU
Okay.
at this point, going on record with the other one if it comes to if they raise the funds, that I would vote against it if it didn't prioritize our students here at the college for access.
Are
If that
you
helps
making
any.
a motion or?
I'm making a motion.
Do we have a second? Okay, motion fails for a second. So we'll bring it back next month, see what
I
happens.
move to kill it right now.
Well, that's effectively just happened.
Say we're gonna bring it back next month. I move not to.
Well, I'm not comfortable with that. So unless somebody wants to second that. Okay. Okay, so we'll table for now and address again when we have some more information. Thank you very much.
Understood. Thank you.
Madam Chair, sorry for the technicality, but we would need a motion to postpone the item and a second and then an action on that motion.
Okay. Do I have a motion to table the item?
I move to table the item or postpone it to a future date.
Kyle, are you willing to second? For now what?
I'll second it.
Okay.
We,
Well, actually, our student trustee could second it.
so.
He- he
believe
can at least
Trustee
put the
Kishner,
motion up. Okay,
seconded
so,
it.
okay, trustee Kishnev has seconded. So all in favor of tabling and bringing it back next month?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. And now moving on to 9.1, which is trustee recognition for Jenny Olson. I don't have a copy of our thingy.
Well, she's not here anyway.
Let me pull it up on your screen. I apologize for that.
Well, to trustee Rios's point, she's not here, so she's not going to miss it if we read it anyway. But we do need to pass the resolution, so. This is a resolution honoring Jenny's years of service as a trustee, since she did have to leave us before the end of her term.
Move for approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion from trustee Iverson with a second from trustee Rios. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, and we will get that signed and off to her as soon as possible. So now, as a result of Jenny's departure, we now have to do a trustee provisional appointment. So we have a process that we have presented here, which will include, pardon me, the position would get posted, I believe, tomorrow. Is that correct?
I
On
can
Monday.
pull up the document. We would go live with the application on Monday, considering that campus is closed tomorrow, Friday.
So it would go live on Monday, and then there's a week to for individuals in the community who are interested in the position to apply. As a part of this action tonight, we are approving both the timeline and the process. We do have 60 days to fill this position, so that means we have to fill it, actually appoint the new person in August, which means actually they get sworn in August, but we need to make the appointment in our July meeting, so that we need to move really quickly. So the position will open on Monday and won't be in for a week, and then HR will do some background work to make certain everyone who applies is eligible. The trustees will have 3 weeks to review and score the applications. And then we will have a special meeting, which will be attached to our regular meeting on the 15th of July, where we will vote on who we want our new trustee to be for the remainder of this term, which is through December. Any questions or anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the process.
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
All right, so we had a motion from trustee Kishnev with a second from trustee Rios. All in favor? Aye. Oh, I should have asked if we had public comment. Do we have public comment?
I do not believe we have public comment on
I
this item.
apologize for that. Good thing we didn't. All right, moving on to Human Resources 10.1, consideration to enter into an employment agreement. And prior to considering this matter as required by Government Code Section 54953C3, I am providing an oral summary of the recommendation regarding the salary and fringe benefits under the proposed contract. The district is entering into an employment agreement with James Reeves as acting superintendent president beginning May 11th, 2026 through June 30th, 2026. The acting superintendent president will receive a monthly stipend of $3,319.09, which will be prorated for any partial month of service. The acting superintendent president shall be entitled to receive the same fringe benefits as the administrative confidential employee group. I need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from trustee Kishnev with a second from trustee Iverson. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to 10.2. Prior to considering this matter, I am providing an oral summary of the recommendation regarding the salary and fringe benefits under the proposed full-time temporary at-will educational administrative contract. The district is entering into an employment agreement with Ramon Salceda as the interim director of Disability Support Programs and Services, DSPS, beginning July 1st, 2026 through December 18th, 2026. The monthly salary of the interim director is to be based on range 19, step E of the administrative confidential salary schedule. Salary will be prorated for any partial month of service. The interim director shall be entitled to receive the same fringe benefits as the administrative confidential employee group. And do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we do not have any public comment on this item.
A motion and a second, please.
I am pleased to make a motion to approve this and happy to see that he applied and was chosen
Second.
for approval.
All right, so we have an enthusiastic motion from trustee Iverson with a second from trustee Kishnev. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. 11, Student Affairs Information District, and do we have nothing in 11? So we're moving on to 12. 12.1, Program Discontinuance of Digital Design and Graphics Technology Programs. Dr. Mora, you need to speak on this item, please.
Yes, thank you. If we could open the attachment labeled DOT report for DDGT. Thank you very much. So this provides a little bit of context for the proposal that came to the board last month. As a reminder for those members of the public or others who might not know what the process was, it might be helpful to review that on February 12th, 2026, there was a Board of Trustees resolution numbered 2601 on the state of the budget. And the relevant language that was the genesis of this process was, now therefore be it resolved that the Napa Valley Community College District Board of Trustees is declaring financial hardship, and be it further resolved that the Napa Valley Community College District Board of Trustees, to prevent further financial instability, directs the superintendent president to continue to work toward implementing mitigating measures to address the anticipated deficits and shortfalls. As a corollary action, the board also took action to lay off 33 full-time positions. All 33 of those positions were among our staff and manager units, so did not include any faculty. As a result of that resolution, that prompted, according to AP 4024, our program discontinuance process, which identifies various trigger mechanisms which can be used to start that program discontinuance review. And financial hardship, as declared by the board, is one of those. So that was the impetus for the review cycle. We did a scan of programs to identify those programs which seemed like they would have the least impact on students primarily, and then also on faculty. So our definition of that was the smallest number of active students in the program and the lowest number of full-time faculty. So we only considered programs that had either one full-time faculty member or 0 full-time faculty members. And through that scan, we identified 4 programs that underwent the program discontinuous review process as outlined in AP 4024. Those programs, among those 4, only 2 were then sent to the board for the May 21st board meeting. And the digital design and graphics technology was one of the 2. The other was machine tool technology. And the board took action at that May meeting to discontinue those 3 programs and requested some additional information regarding the DDGT program. So this report, as well as the associated attached documents, are to be responsive to that request. The next section of that report, load and enrollment comparisons, you will see an attachment, which I'll ask to be opened up in a moment, which references the prior 10 years of data regarding many different data metrics that the program discontinuance work group reviewed. So this is to augment that. Those 10 years of data went up to fall of 2025. So to provide the additional semester of data, since the spring 2026 semester is over, we attempted to provide that additional information for spring. That is why this additional report includes spring term. So if we could scroll down, one thing that may not be known by everyone is something about load. So load refers to the amount of work that a faculty member must do in order to meet their contractual obligations. So a workload is defined as 1.0, and that can be composed of, if it's a standard lecture course, it's typically 5 3-unit classes, and a number of our more hands-on programs have 1 or 2 classes that have many hours associated with them. So in those cases, there may be a faculty member who's teaching far fewer students. We have that primarily in the CTE areas. So as a point of reference, just to give a sense, since the motivation for this review was budgetary, it seemed relevant to consider what the budgetary implications are when we talk about load for a particular full-time faculty member in a particular discipline. So if we scroll down, there should be 1 more line on that table. Yeah, 2 more lines. Thank you. Is it possible to show all the table together? Thank you. So to be clear, these programs are not equivalent programs. There are many unique characteristics to each of these programs. What I'm looking at here is just what the cost is to provide 1.0 load for a full-time faculty member specifically related to these programs in the spring 2026 semester. So in spring 2026, DDGT had 13 students enrolled. And if we divide 50% of the cost of the faculty member's salary by those 13 students, we can see that it costs $7,801 to provide instruction per student for the spring term. Taking the next closest, most expensive courses in the spring 2026 term, we can see that to provide biology anatomy, we do dissection of human cadavers in our anatomy course, and that is a very expensive thing. We need low student counts. That teacher taught 31 students, and so the cost to teach each individual student was $3,271. The next group we looked at was nursing. So the nursing faculty member who had the smallest number of total students for spring was teaching 46 students. And if we take half of that cost, you can see what that was for each student. A particular arts section, again, the faculty member who taught the lowest number of students taught 60 students in the spring semester, and you can see that amount. And as a point of comparison, you can, I included a typical lecture set of assignments. So the business area, just so you can see the range. So a business full-time faculty member taught 230 students in the same semester, and that cost per student would have been about $440. So that's just to give a little bit of understanding about the cost of actually offering the courses. And if we could scroll down. So one of the questions that was raised in the last board meeting was, what are the options for students? And of course, we will provide and do provide anybody who has a stated educational goal of a particular discipline with information about what their options are, which can include finishing up coursework here. It can include referring them to adjacent colleges that offer the same type of program. And so you can see of the surrounding area that our two closest colleges that have a similar program are Solano, which is 17 miles from here, and Diablo Valley, which is 36 miles from here. And there are other options. Of course, we are a member of the California Virtual Campus. So among our 116 colleges, if they have a preference for an online choice among their classes, they can also certainly pursue that in the California Virtual Campus. And if we scroll down to the next, thank you. So looking ahead to fall 2026, and these numbers have changed since this report was prepared because we needed to meet the deadline for the board agenda. So the numbers are higher now. There were, at the end of May, 5 students enrolled in the core DDGT course. That's the primary course that any student wishing to pursue the degree has to complete, and 9 students enrolled in the technical drawing class. Those numbers are currently at 9 and 15. So just to clarify that there has been a change. Another question that was raised was, what are alternatives, or and I'll talk to that in a moment when we get to the other document. But this next section, meeting student needs, again, context for where we are at and what the pressures that we are trying to address in the instructional area. So as a point of comparison, I've listed classes that we know and have seen for multiple semesters now that we are not able to meet student demand. These are the most high volume, most highly requested courses. As of the same date when we looked at enrollment numbers, which was May 28th, 2026, these classes were full. Full with wait lists, and there are multiple sections. So you can see Biology 105, which is a requirement for most of our STEM students and many of our Health Oc students and general ed students may also take this course. So those sections were completely full and had 15 students on wait lists across them. Our Human Anatomy course, Biology 218, was also full, and Biology 219, and those have students on wait lists. That is still true. These are true today, but they were true 2 weeks ago. 8 sections of Chemistry 110. This chemistry course is a requirement for many, many majors. Many of the STEM majors must complete either Chem 110 or 120, which is the next course listed. Those are full with 40 students on waitlist. Chem 120 full with 10 students on waitlist. And then COMC 1000 is a requirement for graduation. And it's also a requirement for anyone who's completing the CalGETC pattern. If they're transferring to a 4-year university, which is a CSU, they must complete COMC 1000, Introduction to Public Speaking. Those courses enroll 25 students per section. They were all full and had 55 students on wait lists, and we cannot accommodate them at this time. The last one is a little bit more of a specific case, which is Psychology 220, Research Methods in Psychology. This is a capstone class that any psychology major must complete in order to complete their degree requirement. That class is full for fall, has a wait list, was full last spring, had a wait list. We cannot graduate our psychology majors, one of our highest demand majors at Napa Valley College, without them having this course. So that's some of the context to understand the pressures on instructional programming, and we need to have more budget associated with instruction in order to meet some of these needs. So the second document that I'll highlight, and I won't speak at length, I appreciate if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but just to highlight what the associated documents are. Everything else that you see here, with the exception of the public comment listed, the other three documents were the resource documents that were reviewed by the program discontinuance work group. So that was our work, is to review that information, discuss it, and then deliberate about that. As I mentioned at the last meeting, there were 3 motions that the work group made. They all failed for lack of a second. There was no agreement to continue this program. There was no agreement to have an additional meeting. There was not a willingness to take the stand to discontinue either. And I believe I made that statement at the last meeting. The 3 documents that you see, the one labeled LMI is labor market information, which is provided not by us, but by the Center of Excellence for Labor Market Research, Bay Area. That was one of the documents I highlighted last time that shows that among our colleges in the Bay region, we have an oversupply of DDGT completers relative to the job market. So that's what this report is showing. And then if we can go back to the attachments. The cost information sheet, again, shows the cost as provided by our business office, projecting what the program costs would be for next year if we continue as usual, which is $272,000. You can see this variation in cost over time, and part of that is due to equipment investments or licensing renewals. We also have some variation in our instructional costs, because while we have 1 full-time faculty member, we also, depending on the semester, have 1 or more part-time faculty members who teach classes. And based on the program map cycle, there are more classes typically offered in the fall semester than in the spring semester. So you'll see some variability there. And if we can look at the last attachment, the program discontinuance data, this is a compilation of all of the data that was reviewed over the meetings that the work group met. This was prepared by our Office of Research Planning and Institutional Effectiveness, and is drawn from the primary sources that we use for any institutional research. So it is very important to note that this is what we have all agreed as the data that we use when we are reviewing program review, program discontinuance considerations, accreditation, any other such product. We use the data from RIPI. We have to have a singular source of data. So you can see that there are 10 years of data on measures from enrollment to persistence to retention, also demonstrating the number of students who have completed particular certificates or degrees. So I'm happy to answer questions about any of these data, but this is a complete record of everything that the program discontinuance work group considered when it was deliberating about this program. And I'd like to end by saying that the work group members are primarily composed of faculty. There are 2 administrators on the work group. One of them is me. The VPAA role is tasked with facilitating the process in accordance with AP 4024. It is important to know, I know these are very serious, very heavy decisions. It is important to know that every member of that committee took this responsibility very with great heart and mind and attention and understanding of the potential repercussions. There is this is not something anyone is taking lightly, nor do we today. So I want to acknowledge that that is true for the impacted faculty. It is true for the faculty and administrators who had to serve on that committee by virtue of their position. And I believe it is also true for the board members today who need to make a decision. So I think it's important to recognize that also. Happy to answer any questions.
I know I have a couple of questions. My first one is with regard to the public comment item that we received. The faculty member who teaches this course, looks like they put it together. And I just want to be clear that I'm understanding the difference in the numbers that were reported in that public comment versus what's in the board report. Because in the board, and also just so I understand the difference on the program discontinuance data enrollments versus head count. What does that mean in terms of number of students that are a part of the program?
Yes, so headcount represents a single individual student, and one student might enroll in one or more classes. So many of them in a year might take 2 courses in DDGT. So enrollments represent the number of registrations in DDGT courses. Headcount represents the number of students in DDGT courses. The other part of your question was regarding how does that relate to the number of students in the program? The program is specifically defined as the AS degree and the certificate. And so what we see, if you look at the data, the program discontinuous data, DDGT, that 4th document, you'll note that many of the students take a single class or 2 classes, but do not complete the requirements for their certificate or the degree. So that is revealed through the retention data, which is on the 3rd or 4th page. So there are students who take this class who are not planning to complete the program of study, or at least their behavior does not demonstrate that they plan to complete this program of study. And that's true for all of our classes. Some people take courses because they want to learn how to do a particular thing. So not every student represented here is a potential completer.
So I guess my follow-up question is, based on what I think I'm hearing, in the fall of 2025, we had 47 individual students that were enrolled in one of these classes. In the public comment document that's attached, it says 73. Do you have a way to account for that, the difference between those 2 numbers?
I cannot account for what is reported in the public comment. What I can affirm is that the 47 is accurate. And I can also affirm that, I mentioned previously the load. So a full-time faculty load, the full-time faculty member in spring had a student load of 13. There were 13 individual students taught. In the fall semester for the 1.0 load, that's what meets the full-time faculty obligation, there were 14 students taught. The faculty member had an overload course and had some additional compensation for teaching above the 1.0 minimum. So that person taught additional students, but to meet the load obligation, it was 14 students in the fall. The additional enrollments primarily were assigned to an adjunct faculty member who had a DDGT section that I believe had enrollment of 27. So the most significant enrollment was in that adjunct faculty member's class in fall.
So of the 47 head count that you reported, only 14 of them were actually part of the program?
No, 14 were what accounted for the 1.0 load for the full-time faculty member. The number of students who had a declared program of study, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I
in
guess so.
DDGT? Let's see. I can look for that information. And I'm happy to, if there are other questions. I'm
Yeah, are there
happy
other,
to-
does anyone else have any additional questions?
Thank you.
Um, Any questions from you? Well, we could open to public comment if there is any right now while, or did you find it?
Yes, so of the students enrolled in fall 2025, 26 of those students had a DDGT related program of study on file.
Do we have any public comment?
Madam Chair, yes, we have 2 speakers requesting to speak on this item. And we can begin with Gary Stroman.
Good evening. My name is Gary Strummon. I am the program coordinator of DDGT program. I'm here tonight because several pieces of inaccurate information have been presented to this board, and you deserve to make this final decision based on facts, not a curated selection of the worst possible data. First, and I appreciate Dr. Moore clarifying this, the discontinuance committee. The board was told in the last meeting that the committee concluded that the 4 DDGT certificate paths were not endorsed to continue. That was not what happened. The committee could not reach a decision one way or another, and that is why we are here tonight. Second, regarding enrollment and cost, the board was presented a cost per student figure of $7,800. That number was calculated using a single anomalous semester. Based on average enrollment over the last 2.5 years, 50 students per semester, the actual cost per student is closer to $2,030. That is less expensive than the nursing program. The enrollment data tells a clear story of growth. In 2024, we served 99 students. In 2025, we served 110 students. According to our own program evaluation and planning review, headcount enrollment increased by 45.5% and total enrollment increased by 69.4% over that 3-year period, while simultaneously reducing class offerings per administration instructions. There are already 23 students enrolled for fall of 2026, and we still have 2.5 months before classes start. Third, and I want the board to hear this clearly, we were told that if our program closes, students can use the 3D printers in the makerspace. That is not accurate on multiple levels. Our 3D printers are not in the makerspace. We have our own high-end equipment valued at over $60,000 that I personally maintain, service, and operate. Equipment that works with hazardous materials and requires specialized safety training far beyond what the makerspace offers. More importantly, according to Chris Farmer, the makerspace is closing at the end of summer while additional funding is sought. If our program is discontinued, there will be no 3D printing available to students anywhere on this campus, none. I want to be clear, we are not asking for additional funding. The capital investment has already been made. New computers, high-end 3D printers, professional laser scanning equipment, all already in place. Annual operating costs are approximately $6,500 in software subscriptions, plus the coordinator position. The investment is done. We simply need the opportunity to continue serving our students. I'm going to hand this over to Jennifer to discuss labor market. Okay. I'm going to pass around, which has already been passed around. It's already in public comment. There's a copy of public comment number 1.
They'll tell me what it's.
Madam Chair, just for the record, the handout is a direct printout of the written public comment that is attached digitally. And then in addition to our second in-person speaker, we do have one request to speak via Zoom following the second speaker.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Stroman, and I'm here to correct the record on the labor market analysis presented to this board and to tell you what this program means for our students. The board was told that there was a decreasing demand for drafters. That conclusion came from examining a single narrow top code that represents only a fraction of what this program teaches. The DDGT program directly applies to 17 top codes and indirectly to 22 more. The college's own data from Robin Warnell shows projected growth of 23% for mechanical engineers, 12% for engineers, 11% for graphic designers, and 10% for architecture and engineering. The college's own economic development department projects a 25% increase in the Napa County positions by 2030, exceeding both Bay Area and statewide projections. This data was available. It wasn't presented to you. This program's outcomes are being severely undercounted. Of the 10 architectural drafting certificates submitted, only 5 were processed. Of the 26 mechanical drafting certificates submitted, only 7 were processed. In the last review cycle, 164 students earned Autodesk certificates of completion, credentials the college does not track at all. These students are invisible in the data that you've been given. Additionally, the college has no way to track student intent. Many students come for one-year certificates or specific job skills. Students are employable just after one semester, and many jobs before completing the full program. Many get jobs before completing the full program, just as Dr. Mora has noted about machine tool technology. The board was told students can finish their education at other nearby institutions. I researched every community college within 45 miles. Not one offers laser scanning, 3D laser scanning. Not one offers point cloud data analysis. Not one offers engineering grade 3D printing. And not one is an Autodesk authorized training center. These skills cannot be obtained anywhere else in this region. 24 community members wrote letters in support. Students are getting jobs, enrollment is growing, the investment is already made. We're simply asking to continue to rebrand as drafting and design and offer flexible courses that serve more students. The question before this board is not whether the program costs too much. The question is whether Napa Valley College will continue to offer something genuinely unique or become a college where students can only find what they can get elsewhere. Please vote to continue this program. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, we have one final speaker via Zoom. And that is Timothy Law. And Timothy, you should be able to unmute yourself here.
Good evening, folks. I'd like to talk about potential grant eligibility for such an expansive program. I do believe that the DGGT program is quite an interdisciplinary program and can be interwoven with many other aspects of the college. And I think that it's a seed that can grow and interweave itself with many aspects of the college. It could potentially fall under STEAM, not just STEM, because it does provide such a wide berth of things to learn. And let's see here. And then as the industries are changing, we're starting to move into another kind of golden age of technology. And I think that we're kind of poised to kind of capture a lot of the interest that is going to come. And considering our proximity to the Silicon Valley, I think that we could probably gather a lot of, various interest and like various funding sources that are kind of geared towards technology. Largest technology. Okay, so and the proximity is an untapped asset. A strengthened DDGT program could be a full STEAM training center, and it could make the Napa Valley College visible. And let's see here. And I think that it would be more of a loss to lose the program. And I think that if we nurtured it and, allowed it to continue and grow, I think that it would be a very, very strong pillar of the college. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening.
I have one quick follow-up question. I was trying to find it. In one of these documents, I lost which one it was. Dr. Moore, you had said how many oh, here it is. Okay. For fall 2026, in the document, you said there were 5 students currently enrolled, and then you had said that it was corrected to 9, I think you said.
Apologies, effective today, it is 9 and 15. So they're 24
So
students.
that's the
enrolled.
23 that we're talking about. And what's the difference between the 9 and the 15?
The 9 students are enrolled in what the core course, the basic course, and then the 15 are enrolled in a class called Technical Drawing Fundamentals.
Okay.
I do think it's also important to recognize that we offer a class every fall called Engineering 122 that includes AutoCAD and 3D printing, and they use the 3D printers to teach students those skills. It does not have a prerequisite, so any student can take that class. And I also had a very interesting conversation with student trustee Love during the closed session break, where there's a discussion about the Student Business Club, I believe, working on a proposal to have the makerspace work on a revenue generating model. So that's something that our business club is actively working on. So I think it's important to acknowledge that it is not the intention to eliminate the makerspace. We are developing a plan for how we can continue to operate that. And we do provide educational opportunities as part of our current curriculum offerings for students to learn 3D printing skills and AutoCAD skills. We also have a digital art program, DART, which has significant overlap with DDGT. So I want to make clear that the options students have are not only to go to another college, but to stay at Napa Valley College if one of those programs are of interest.
Any further questions from the board? Do we have a motion on this item?
Move to approve.
We have a second?
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from trustee Rios and a second from trustee Iverson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I didn't hear any opposed, so motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to actually, we're going to make a small switch since we have an outside speaker. We're going to do the Eco Green Solutions, which is 13.2. We're going to do that one first. So Mr. Reeves, can you please?
Thank you, President Baker. You may recall that EcoGreen made a presentation, I believe 2 meetings ago, and it was determined that we needed some additional information before the board would want to act upon that. I will share with you that we have consulted with the Los Rios Community College District, their energy guru there, if you will, at the Chancellor's office, who helped us frame some of the questions, and EcoGreen has been responsive to those. At this point, I would like to invite Mr. Sal Miranda from EcoGreen. I've indicated that while the board has seen this, they may just want a brief overview of the proposal, particularly related to costs, savings, and financing. So Sal, please.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me? Board of Trustees, thank you for your time today. My name is Sal Miranda, and I've had the pleasure of working with all our higher education and California community college projects up to date. As you know, we did a campus-wide energy audit of what you have currently on campus, of your lighting, mechanical equipment, refrigeration, and your dimming switches. We found, if you can pull up one of the attachments. No, next. There we go. Oh, no, not that one either. Okay. Either is good. I'll speak on behalf of it. So we did a campus-wide energy audit. Every light you see in here is fluorescent. It's not LED.
It's the first doc, Armando. It's the audit.
Yeah, I don't think it's on there. That's not it.
Are the 2 attachments I have for this item.
Okay, we missed a few. They were on the previous. My apologies. We did an extensive audit, as Sal has mentioned, across the campus and identified all the locations where
Yes,
the college would benefit from an LED retrofit.
correct. So we went through the entire campus. We noted every single room, every single light that you guys have. It was just under 5,000 fixtures. As you know, you cannot buy fluorescent tubes anymore in the state of California, nor can you install them. What we found was that of those 5,000 fixtures, PG&E has a program that's called the PG&E Energy Efficiency Program that funds this project. We found that a project cost of $1,398,890 were to be paid back through an estimated annual energy savings of $18,905. That puts you in the PG&E program for 74 months to switch out all your lighting from non-LED to LED, as well as upgrading your walk-in cooler in your cafeteria and all your dimming switches. What that estimates to is we found that that comes out to $230,000, $312 per year. Over a 5-year savings, that would look to be just under $1.3 million. And at a 10-year savings would be just at over $3 million. What that means is we are the contractor who facilitates this program. We've done it with Cuesta College. We've done it with Taft College, with Bakersfield College, with Redwood College. All these colleges have already implemented this, and we actually have already installed it for them. So we are the implementer, we are the C10 contractor, we are the installer, and we are also warranty all the fixtures that we're putting in. Again, the project cost stands at just under $1.4 million and $1.398. Your estimated savings over 10 years is $3 million. So you're just under 74 months in the program, which is paid for through the energy savings by us taking out the old fixtures and tubes and putting in the new energy efficient fixtures. The way it's done, it's on your bill is you come in, we come in, we do the project. The day after that we're done, you start instantly saving those cost savings. Obviously, that's a big part for facilities and maintenance. You guys obviously can use that budget now to take on other projects that are more pressing. Essentially, it's how it's paid for through PG&E's on-bill financing program is every month we noted that we're going to save you $18,905.28. That's what's going to go towards the project. So you're going to see the deduction in energy usage on the front end, and every month that 1.398 is going to go down by that 18,905. And that's what equals the 74 months that you're in the program for. The district doesn't write a check. You guys don't write a PO. It's simply an agreement between PG&E and the district. As soon as we come in and we do the install, you guys sign on the front end for the agreement for PG&E. And until we're finished, you guys also have a post installation. We pre-document everything because the Public Utilities Commission requires us to. So we've already done the pre-documentation. We also then come in right before install. We take a picture of right before we install and at post-install. It's heavily scrutinized by the Utilities Commission. Every college that we've done gets pulled for review by the Utilities Commission. EcoGreen floats the cost of the project, so we don't get paid until you guys are happy. Essentially, you're already paying your PG&E bill, so you're already budgeting for your PG&E bill. That means this is a zero out-of-pocket, zero budget impact program to the college. You're also reducing your carbon footprint reduction, which I know Napa County is huge on, as well as, again, using the budget that you guys have for maintenance and your cost savings budget and the deferred maintenance money for other projects that you guys may have available. Again, I've had the pleasure of managing all 6 of these projects, as well as UC Berkeley right now. We're in the middle of submitting. So it's just really been, I'm a product of the California Community College system and the CSU system. So just happy to help and see what you guys need or any questions that you guys may have.
I kind of got a softball question because I know if this was happening at my house, it would be a conversation on who picks the fixtures. But
Are we getting new
what
fixtures or
type-
we're just getting new
is
light
it
bulbs?
just bulbs, or is it like, I mean, is it all just the LED?
So this is,
ones?
so for example, this is a decorative, so what you have in here is actually like these 2-foot biax tubes. They're still fluorescent. They're about 50 watts, 60 watts. We're taking it down to probably 20 watts, and that's all noted in the energy hub. So the architectural stuff will stay.
Okay.
This type of architectural stuff will stay. We'll do a ballast bypass.
Okay.
So you're adding ballast as well. You're done with the ballast. By the time we leave here, this campus is Title 24 compliant and up to green building energy. If it's a type B2, sorry, if it's just a 2, for example, anything that's up top in the sconces, it's also just going to be a direct ballast. I'm going to type in direct wire. For these, it'll be also a direct wire. We'll take out the ballast. Anything architectural, we'll take out the ballast. We'll do a direct wire. Your fixtures, these are called can lights. We'll take these can lights out, give you a nice can light fixture.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just not clear. Where does your money come from? How do you get paid?
PG&E pays us at the end of the project. So there's a pre-installation agreement between PG&E and the district. So upon that, we get what's called a notice to proceed from PG&E. Then we order our product. So essentially we have net 260 with vendors just because of sometimes how long it takes for PG&E to pay us back, how long it takes the utility to review the project and say, okay, they're done. We get paid at the end from PG&E. That money comes from the energy savings that we're noting by pushing out all the old equipment.
So what do we pay?
We pay our electric bill as we always do. And so our electric bill, we continue to budget as we do today with a minor escalation as we might expect. And so at the top line, we will pay the bill. And at the bottom line of the very same bill, we will get a credit from PG&E at about $18,000 or so each month to offset.
Yeah, and that's what pays for the project.
That's what pays for the project.
For the 74 months by the savings.
So we're projecting a net demand on the unrestricted general fund as essentially zero if the projections play out and energy consumption drops as well because of an LED retrofit.
Thank you.
And then a little over 6 years when the whole thing's paid for, we have an extra 18 grand a month that we could do what we want.
Exactly. That 18 grand, actually, it's 19,192 estimated monthly savings. They're actually only going to take 18,905. So you guys do right off the back get like, well, I would say that's a good 5 to 7% discount off the back of the estimated savings. And then we also, like I said, you guys do the 1 year parts and labor. Anything happens for the first year, we come out and fix it. For the rest of the program, all you guys do, what comes in our statement of work, is have your facilities team stamp a picture and say, hey, Mr. EcoGreen, this light went out. For the first year, we come out and fix it, our guys. And after the first year, we have the factory, we service the factory warranty, we service our RMA process, and we have the factory ship you guys a direct replacement.
And as Sal mentioned, the additional benefit for us is we will be Title 24 compliant. Most of us know that you can't buy a fluorescent tube at Home Depot anymore. And so we're running into challenges with maintaining our lighting fixtures as we speak.
Actually, as a contractor, us as contractors, we can't even install it either. Or anybody in California, say.
Any other questions? We have a motion.
Well, this is one of the lighter ones tonight, but I'll move for approval.
Second.
Well, yeah, it's usually how it goes for us.
Yeah, it feels like a no-brainer. All right, so we have a motion from trustee Iverson with a second from trustee Rios. All in favor? Aye. And none opposed? All right, so motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sal. We'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you.
So now we're moving on to 13.1, the tentative budget. Mr. Reeves.
I'm not sure that trustee Iverson would consider this light or heavy. However, it is necessary. This is the tentative budget proposal for 26-27. We will share with you. This will come in 3 segments. The PowerPoint is a narrative of the budget and the process we have followed. And then we'll look at Fund 11, which is the unrestricted general fund, and Fund 12, which is the restricted funds. The distinction is that the unrestricted general funds can be utilized at the with wide discretion of the board and the institution. The Fund 12, or the restricted funds, have a condition about its use, either to a particular population, for a particular purpose, or in a particular time frame. So that's the distinction. We don't have as much latitude with those funds, but they are very focused in terms of their intended outcomes. So I'm going to move through this. Next slide, please, Armando. 26-27. This is the first step in a 2-step budgeting process for institutions in higher education, certainly public institutions. This tentative budget is a precursor to the final budget, which is presented to the board in September. And this effectively allows the institution to operate by statute beginning July 1st to pay its bills, et cetera. If we didn't have this adopted, we would have to figure out how we're going to operate a $54 million institution without authorization, but we aren't in fear of that, I don't believe. The tentative budget was prepared utilizing a revised planning and resource allocation process that provided greater awareness for the annual process, increased engagement. We are seeking greater transparency, and we are seeking to improve our communication throughout the process. The bottom point here, I won't read every word. The tentative budget is presented utilizing the best information available at adoption at this point, but subject to changes as additional information becomes available. That additional information can become the state's adopted budget or trailer bills, confirmed local property taxes, et cetera. Next slide, please. This is our methodology. Again, I won't go through every item here. It shares with you how we are projecting the numbers, what's the basis for our assumptions. And you can see in each of, we've aligned those revenues for the unrestricted general fund with those top 5 areas in the budget reports that many of you are familiar with. Any significant changes here, your federal income on the Fund 11 is always fairly nominal and comes from administrative fees. Decreases in state tax revenues and other state sources are projected based on 25-26 first principal apportionment. So we made a projection based on the data we have at hand today that will likely change prior to the final budget. I'll share with you the property tax revenues. 85+% of our revenues are forecast in this budget to increase by 3.5% as compared to 25-26. That is an area of risk. I'll just share that with you based on the recent history with property taxes. So we're keeping a close eye on not only what the county's projecting, but also what's happening with our revenues this year, and we'll share that a little later. Other local revenues are based upon average growth rate of the 2 previous years of realized receipts. So we essentially took a 2-year average and use that as a forecast. We're looking at a slight increase in international enrollments, and many of you know that the tuition for international students is somewhat higher, so that becomes a significant part of our revenue. Expenditures, salary and wages are included per the CBAs. Benefits costs actually drop. The total benefits costs drop by 1.4%, largely due to a decreasing staffing complement on campus. Operating expenses, we have used the tentative budget reflects a continuous request through the budget process approved by the area vice presidents. Those are include our capital investments. We've used the 3% global increase, anticipating costs increasing over the course of the year. Other outgo in our budget includes costs that we're moving out of Fund 11, funded by Fund 11, moving to other funds. And other post-employment benefits, our OPEBs, includes increases in medical costs, which are increasing for retirees, and continues to include annuity costs related to the CERP 1 and CERP 2. This will be the last year of CERP 1. It's about $250,000 a year in an annuity that will be finished in this fiscal year. And CERP 2, we have 2 more years with that one. Next slide, please. Context for our budgeting is always how many students are we serving? And you can see in 2021, that was just as the COVID was the onset of COVID. You can see we're just over 4,000 FTES. That's full-time equivalent students. And you can see how it's changed. We are reaching a point of enrollment stabilization, I would offer, as we look to a projected budget of 3,600. And our 24-25 actual was slightly higher than the previous year. So we're approaching is equilibrium the right term? We'll use that one anyway. Thank you. Next slide. Our expense assumptions, I've mentioned a lot of this already. Our PERS and STIRS, our salary increases are 3% based on CBAs. What's included in the budget is essentially what we typically include. I would take you to the bottom point here. Fiscal year 27 includes a portion of estimated personnel costs currently supported by federal grants that are expected to expire in 26-27. So our budget work has looked very carefully at what we're funding in those federal grants that are lapsing, are concluding, and making judgments and recommendations to move some of those positions to Fund 11 because they're critical to the operation. So that's clearly included in additional expenses for the coming year. Next slide, please. This is just this is a summary of all of the inputs to the budget process. So if you're a budget manager, you can submit strategic initiatives, personnel requests, operational continuous requests, et cetera. The strategic initiatives, one I think has been approved, maybe 2 that are budget neutral. Personnel requests, the May 1 memo that went out essentially authorized 3 additional positions considered critical to continuing operations. Our operational continuance requests, I just mentioned, facilities and equipment requests were considered by those respective by the facilities committee and the next one, technology committee. While their operating budgets remain in place, their capital requests for equipment, et cetera, have been held for the moment pending final budget. We also have an opportunity to fund those with that hope. Hope is not a strategy. I understand that the state will come through with their indicated scheduled maintenance and instructional equipment funding. So we'll learn a little bit more about that, and you'll likely see the results of what the state finally does in the final budget. And operational optimization requests, we had some very good requests to help the institution be more efficient, to better deliver services to students. Those are discretionary from a budget perspective and will be considered in the context of the final budget. Next slide, please. So our goal ultimately in our budgeting process is it's a manifestation of our goals. So I won't read all these, but this is these are the Board of Trustee goals developed in February of 26. And you'll notice in a later table, we've aligned our budget considerations with those goals. Next slide, please. These are the educational master plan goals. And again, we have aligned those with particular operational and requested funding in a later table. Next slide, please. So these are our budget planning priorities as aligned with those goals, both trustee goals and with and for our educational master plan goals, student equity, support and success. We're relying again on categorical funding, about $2.4 million this coming year. And then you can see our commitment to other areas, particular areas of the budget in support of those goals. Instructional supplies, both lottery, restricted and unrestricted lottery expenses. Our TCO is a total cost of ownership assessment, and we're committing in Fund 11 for IT and facilities and classroom refresh about $460,000. And those funds are largely carryover COVID relief funds that were committed to those two particular areas. Basic needs food support. These we continue to have some rollover funds for basic needs of food support and student housing. Recall that we deliver one prepared meal to students in housing at no cost to them every Monday through Thursday of every week of a semester. Our projected decrease in the fund balance. This is almost not worth mentioning. It's such a small number, but we are projecting today an increase in the fund balance of just under $8,000. That's a very small number. However, it will be impacted by the amount that we have left over at the end of this year. So if we have more revenue over expense at the end of this year, that will roll that number up. But the good news is that we're presenting, at least at the tentative balanced budget, with a little reserve there that we're projecting could get a little better. But at the tentative budget stage, this budget looks like about an $8,000 in the black number. Next slide, please. These are operational recommendations. We talked about personnel, those 3 positions that were authorized. Strategic initiatives have not been determined. Operational continuous requests. Those are the increases in the cost of operation. Our request of budget managers is that the resources you need to continue current operations at their current level. So we needed an additional $736,000. Those calls for increases in utilities, increases in many cases for subscriptions for software, et cetera. And then you can see down operational optimization requests, et cetera, non-TCO facilities and equipment, non-TCO technology requests, and then environmental consultant mitigation costs for the ash landfill, which is a gift that keeps on giving. And so we are in the mitigation process and we continue to commit funds to that. Those funds are accumulating. We haven't spent all of those. I think in a past budget, I indicated that our rough estimate was around $1 million cost over time. And I think we're close to having accumulated that with this contribution. So we'll be having more information about that coming up on the ash landfill. Next slide, please. So these are the notes. Projected revenue from property taxes, I mentioned, is an area of risk that we need to be aware of and may impact our final budget. Fund 11 includes selected full-time and part-time positions, as I've mentioned, from other sources as a result of discontinuance of federal funding. Number 3, revenue realized from the lease of a portion of the Upper Valley campus to City of St. Helena is projected to be $226,000. We have forecast, at least in our tentative budget, an increase of 3% there. So that's still work underway. Number 4, an allowance of $100,000 is included to address possible employee reclassifications resulting from reorganization efforts. Many of you are aware that we have been going through a reorganization process this spring and into the early summer. We anticipate that some positions will need to be reclassified because of changing work responsibilities. And so we've allocated $100,000 for that. It does not include, number 5, any adjustments from pending program discontinuance discussions. So while Dr. Mora and the board have considered those discontinuance, there's nothing in here that reflects any cost changes other than assuming those programs would continue. We will make those adjustments obviously after the board decision now, but at this point, and the tentative budget doesn't include those numbers. Number 7, any changes in the fund balance are dependent on what happens this year. And number 8, the district's maximum subordinated liability for the River Trail Village student housing project is currently funded through fiscal year 26. If we were to pay all of the obligation, we would still have a bit left, and that is not part of the unrestricted general fund. We have set that aside for the past few years. Next slide, please. This is a Fund 12 notes. Fund 12 are the restricted funds. Information from the State Chancellor's Office indicates that while selected categorical programs will see a COLA increase of 2.87%, other programs will see no revenue increase for fiscal 25-26. So these are the several funds that we receive from the state. The state has indicated what programs will get a COLA and what won't. DSPS program is eligible for a COLA, cost of living increase, as well as EOPS and a few other programs. Our federal grant funding for Hispanic serving institutions, I think we have to say, we're not initiations, we're institutions. HSI will conclude in December 26. Selected programs and services, including personnel costs, are being supported by other appropriate funding, including the unrestricted general fund. The talent search program funding is exhausted in 25-26. That's a longstanding federal program. Number 4, the restricted general fund expenditures, Fund 12, and program balances are estimated for the tentative budget, subject to change based on confirmed funding. Number 5, significant technology investments and classroom refresh will be funded with restricted funds in fiscal year 27. Dr. Moore and the IT team have made tremendous progress in updating and improving technology in classrooms, and we'll be able to spend the remaining funds on that, certainly that have been authorized thus far. And the institution continues to review the Fund 12 programs that were projected to exceed funding and that require additional budget projections. So our budget office has done projections for several programs, and we're seeing maybe a year or sometimes 2 years out, they run into a wall. So we continue to look at those programs to determine how we're going to address those moving forward. Next slide, please. This is the process, tentative budget. In August, we will finalize our local property tax revenue inserted into the final budget. We'll review and implement any changes from any trailer bills that the state comes up with. Revenues and expenditures are adjusted and supported by further analysis as we move to final budget. In September, the final budget is reviewed by the college community and president's cabinet. And at September, the district budget committee reviews feedback from campus input and makes a recommendation to the superintendent president, who then makes a recommendation to the board for final budget consideration in September. Last slide, please. Any questions, observations, suggestions at this point on the tentative budget?
Questions? I had a couple. One, I wanted to ask about the $100,000 that you have for reclassifications.
Yes.
What is that? Is that for like training, or what is the actual expense for?
We anticipate that some employees, largely classified employees, who are in areas that are being reorganized, will have their duties changed as a result of that reorganization. And we anticipate that we will have to reevaluate their job descriptions and likely have to upgrade their jobs to meet those new requirements of those reorganized areas.
Okay. The other thing I was just curious about, I was really surprised to see that the amount for benefits went down, but I understand that's primarily because we have fewer people. I'm just curious, if we hadn't reduced our number of people, what would that number look like in terms of an increase?
More like 10%. We'll see later in the presentation that the global look on benefits went down by 1.4%, I think. The individual cost for benefits is going to go up by 10%. So the individual cost for our employee group on an individual basis, it'll cost the institution 10% more. So, but globally, because of those dynamics, we have reduced our total commitment to benefits.
Any other questions? Is this an action item? It is.
President Baker, let me just spend 2 minutes on the numbers. I know they're
Yeah.
blinding, but I just want to be on the record as showing you the numbers. Fund 11, please, Armando.
To confirm, are we asking for the Fund 11 in the different item?
No. This is the attachment that is called Fund 11 to the tentative budget proposal.
My apologies. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. This is a schedule you're all familiar with. You can see on the far right side where the changes occurred in the budget. And Armando, if you can just scroll down here, I just want to take your attention to line 9, where it says set aside. It says 286 to 231. I would just point out that this is a set aside anticipating that some of the positions that were in that restricted fund, those HSI funded areas, would likely come over to Fund 11. They're called a set aside because we continue to look for other opportunities to fund those positions. So I would just call that out. And if you scroll down further, you'll see our total expenses are hovering around 50. Scroll down further. Scroll down to the bottom. Thank you. We have total expenditures of around $57 million. We're projecting a very similar amount in revenue. And here you see that we'll have about an $8,000 increase over expenditures with a slight growth in the reserve at 17.28%. So as we sit here today, it looks encouraging, but there's a lot of data that needs to be considered moving forward. Before we move on, I'd certainly entertain any questions here.
Did you want to look at 12? 12. Do we want to look at that one?
Let's look at just a brief look at Fund 12. Fund 12 are the restricted funds. You'll see, you can see that top line federal income from the adopted budget line, column D was $3.3 million. Proposed tentative budget is $1 million. That's for a couple of reasons. Remember, we received some COVID relief funds there as well that causes that number to increase. We do have some faculty salaries here and staff salaries funded, some counseling positions funded with Fund $12. This accounting is a little bit different because, and you'll see that our revenues are pretty close to our expenses, very close. We don't realize the revenue in this accounting until you spend the money, because in technically speaking, restricted funds, if you don't use them, you have to send them back. So, so we are in reasonable shape there. We continue to look for opportunities to advance restricted funding. I know Dr. Pittman, that's an important part of her agenda she shares with me, but we will be continuing to look for opportunities to advance that area. So that would conclude my report on the tentative budget.
Any questions? I guess we need a motion to adopt the tentative budget.
Madam Chair, as an action item, I believe we may have a public comment via Zoom. I saw a hand, but it went down. Came back. Okay. Yes. So we do have one person on Zoom who would like to make a public comment on this item, and that is Jasenia Kota. And Jasenia, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I'm not sure. You know, I haven't stayed this late in a meeting in a while. And so I did have a question and or, if it could be presented to the board. Some time ago, after the news of the cuts to grant funding, it was stated that there would be grant application opportunities for different types of grants. And so I think it'd be great for the board and the college community to know where, if anywhere, that is in the process, if we are going to be blessed to have the opportunity to receive a different type of grant funding while we are seeing our long-term grant funding sunset. So I just wanted to uplift that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yesenia. You kind of addressed that tangentially, at least, by saying you're still looking. Is there anything specific that you would like to?
That certainly has been a priority with Dr. Powell. We do have staff in place who is working on that. Dr. Stevens in the RIPI area. So it is a focus, a renewed focus, if you will. And I don't want to speak too much for Dr. Pittman, but she has whispered to me that she has some ideas about grant funding.
No stone unturned. All right. Do we have a motion then to adopt the tentative budget?
Move to adopt the tentative budget.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we are at 13.3 5-year capital outlay and construction plan. Mr. Reeves again.
Thank you, President Baker. This is our 5-year capital outlay plan. I'll just share with you, this is a project list. It looks very much the same as it did last year and the year before. And it simply provides a listing of areas the college would like to, needs to address. And we are required to file this with the Chancellor's office annually. So we can scroll down there and you can see that when you, I would, a point of clarification, there is, when we talk about local funding, it doesn't mean that the college is committed to that. It means that there is a need to fund it locally. So would you mind scrolling there, Armando? I would finally share on this item that the facilities master plan will add priority, a renewed priority to the capital plan. So I would say, and we anticipate having that in place this coming fiscal year. So this may look somewhat differently next year.
Any questions from the board? Do we have any public comment?
Madam Chair, there's no public comment on this item.
Okay, we need a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve from trustee Iverson with a second from trustee Rios. All in favor? Aye. None opposed. Motion carries. We are now at 14.1.
Madam Chair, we skipped 13.4.
I apologize. 13.4. Oh, my favorite thing. Mr. Reeves.
Thought we got away with that.
All right.
I'll be brief. I will be brief anyway. This is the unrestricted general fund report through May 31st of this year. Again, the quick tour through here is if you look at the right column, above the right column, column I, you'll see that we are 11/12 or 92% through the budget. And while that's not a perfect barometer, it is a good indicator. So you'll notice on the revenue side, where our total revenues at May 31st, we're at 95% of our budgeted revenue projection. at 98% of our property tax revenue. So we're at the very tail end of receiving property tax. We may be receiving some trickle in June and maybe a little bit in July, but we're close there. At 95%, we're close. I'd like to be the 120%, but we're not there yet. You'll notice in total salaries, we're at 80%, 87% on target, certainly relative to the budget. In our total employee benefits, we're at 78%, running a little bit below the 92%. I would offer that some of the retro pay in the faculty side has not been applied yet, but when that is applied, some of those will rise a bit. In terms of total books and supplies, 75%, still trending well. Total other operating supplies is 71%. And then total expenditures, we're at 80% through May 31st at 92% of the fiscal year. I'll share with you, I think we're trending in a very positive direction relative to revenues and expenditures toward the end of the year. And we might see a nickel or two added to the reserve and perhaps a slight increase in the reserve balance. That's what I sense today. But as we move closer to the end of the year, we'll have better, more confirmed information. So, President Baker, that would conclude my report. Well, what questions might there be?
I have anecdotes, but no questions. So, unless anyone has any others, we can move on. That's just an information item. So we can move on to 14.1, board policy, second reading. Armando.
Madam Chair, just a very brief update. This is the second reading. It's the same number of policies. There was no feedback or requested additional changes. So these are the same policies that were presented for a first reading last month. These are here as a second reading as an action item this month. And again, just want to really thank all of our Senate and constituent groups for supporting the pilot of streamlining this process this year. It was really efficient, really effective, and we hope to continue to fine tune it moving forward.
All right. Do we have any public comment on this?
No public comment on this item.
Unless there are any questions, since it's a second reading, hopefully there aren't any. Just need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
A second.
I'll second.
A motion to approve from trustee Rios with a second from trustee Kishnev. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, so motion carries. President and board reports.
Okay, if we could pull up the academic affairs report. Thank you. So I wanted to highlight one of the three areas tonight, community education. There was mention of the reorganization. That's one of the areas we're discussing about reorganizing. So there will be more to come on that, but it's a good time as we look at transitions to reflect on the prior 3 years of community education. And to clarify, because those terms are not always familiar to members of the public, community education means fee for service classes. They are very often just a half day or a couple of hours, a single workshop that members of the community can sign up for through Eventbrite is the tool that we use. So they don't have to fill out an application. It's not the standard process for our classes. And they're topics usually of high interest to members of the public. So our communication offerings have spanned a really wide range of things. You can find our current schedule for summer and our current schedule for fall on the website. You can see that our NVC Estate Winery Friday Tasting Series, which was a newer innovation, was actually our strongest seller in terms of tickets. If we can scroll down to that little chart with the green, Thank you. Yes, this highlights thank you very much. That's helpful. It highlights the number of people who purchased tickets, just so you can get a sense of how many members of our community we're serving through this set of offerings. So the total unduplicated number of people who purchased tickets was 2,682. Keep in mind, this spans the 3-year period as reflected in their program review. And then you can see that many of them, 44.4%, purchased more than one ticket. So they attended multiple fee-for-service classes, so 1,192 of them. And interestingly, the range of tickets purchased goes from 2 to 72. So someone really loves community education, which is fabulous. Our topics range from everything to like retirement basics to bird watching is one of our popular community service courses, the wine tastings, among many other options. And I wanted to highlight our newest edition, which will be the Evelyn Allen Adaptive PE course. So that course, we are working on the final details. We plan to offer it in fall semester with 4 sections offered to the community, and students primarily through our partner agencies will be able to sign up in a much easier way for them. It removes a lot of the red tape, and it will be offered in our same facility using the same equipment that was purchased with the Evelyn Allen funds. And of course, that's through the bequest that was made to the NVC Foundation. And the NVC Foundation has already committed to supporting that program up to $50,000 per year. And that is the way that we are able to offer it at a very comparable rate to what the students have been paying. So really excited to share about that. The second area I'd like to highlight is our summer 2026 term, which starts on Monday. So these data are from June 11th. So the numbers are actually a little higher now, but we have 100 sections we're offering, enrollment of 2,678. And as we talked about earlier, head count is the number of individual students. So most of our students are taking a couple of classes in the summer. And so that's a strong start for summer term. And you've heard me talk in my final bit that I'd like to highlight. You've heard me talk before about the bachelor's degree on many occasions as we worked through that process of approvals. But we are really excited to see the number of applicants we've had. We had actually determined a class size of 35 because it was our, that was what was a common standard for this area. We have more than 35 applications, and the faculty member who's leading it said, would it be okay with you if we increase the number? You know my answer. So yes, we've increased the number of students to up to 40 if we get a couple more applications. That is really exciting. And one thing that may not have been highlighted in the past is bachelor's degree students are paying not only the $46 a unit, but an additional amount for our bachelor's degree level courses. And so this program will pay for itself. I just wanted to be clear on that. So this is really, really exciting. And of course, our first bachelor's degree at Napa Valley College, we're all thrilled to be able to offer it. Thank you. Absolutely. Yes, they have to have completed an associate's degree in respiratory care. It doesn't have to be through us. Any associate's degree in our system is equivalent. They also would have to be licensed because we are providing credit for prior learning for a significant number of units that recognizes that professional and licensing experience. So this is a really, sorry, don't get me started. This is, this is a very streamlined pathway to a bachelor's degree. Students can complete it in 3 semesters, and it's meant to be made for working adults who currently hold full-time jobs in respiratory care. So I can talk as much as you would like about it. Thank you for your good questions.
Thank you, Dr. Mora. Dr. Guerrero asked to be excused this evening. He has an event with one of his children, so we let him off the hook. And I would ask that he asked that we steer you toward his written report. And thank you. And my written report, I'm going to refer you to that one as well. I would just highlight one particular area, and that's the opening of the Wine Education Center. Phase 2, we call it, but it was successfully opened, and I say under budget and ready for the next semester, which was quite an achievement by many involved, including Sam Maddox and facilities and others. So if you haven't been over there, take a look. It is beautiful. We already have people lining up to do weddings there, everything. So we're very careful about how we're going to use that, obviously. So that would conclude my report, and I would refer you to my written report for any further information.
Good evening. In the Office of Human Resources, we continue to negotiate reopeners with our classified union. I do want to bring to light that the contracts for both of our unions are coming up. And so hopefully in the months of August and September, you will receive sunshine articles presented to you in August for information, and then in September for you to approve and accept the sunshine proposals. We do anticipate on opening up bargaining this fall semester, but not before holding interest-based bargaining trainings. I've had conversations with our colleagues, and I believe that we have a shared interest of efficiency and to get to an agreement a lot sooner than in our recent experience with bargaining. My report is also attached, and that is the one item I wanted to highlight. Thank you.
Just a final report from the president's area. We are all looking forward to July 1st, when Dr. Pittman arrives and assumes in a very formal way her role as the new superintendent president here. You can see her on July 4th at the July 4th parade, riding in a classic automobile provided by one of our employees. I want to thank Jenna Sanders for her work with that and for everything else she does. So thank you and welcome to Dr. Pittman again. And that would conclude the reports from the president's area.
Thank you very much. Moving on to standing committee and other appointment reports. DOS, Trustee Kishnev, do we have any report?
Nothing to report.
Viticulture and Winery Foundation, Trustee Rios. All right, then. Moving on to 15.3, future agenda item requests. Do we have any requests for future agenda items? Hearing none, then we'll move on to trustee and board chair reports. Student trustee Love, you get to go first.
I have nothing to report. Just want to say I'm grateful for being here and excited for a good year.
Welcome. Trustee Kishnev.
I have nothing to report.
Trustee Rios. Trustee Iverson.
No report.
I also have no report, but I will tell Dr. Pittman, if you haven't already been schooled, it's elbow, elbow, wrist, wrist, touch the pearls, turn. Okay? Okay. All right, we do not need to go back into closed session. Our next meeting will be July, is it 16th? I thought it was 15th. Is it 16th? 16th. All right. Then we are adjourned at 7:29 p.m.